the vein of what I've been doing. But here's my, not dilemma, but kind of a place I'm at. I have this message in my head, and I have this message in my heart. So I'm going to go with what's in my heart, and I'll do what's in my head next week, because God is speaking something specific today. It's about wisdom things. And if we're to title this message when you put it up on the web, it's about handling your humanity. Handling your humanity. See, we've been talking about, challenges to accept and things to defeat. In there we talk about defeating yourself, defeating the devil. And today I want to just talk to you kind of wisdom principle things, about how you handle your humanity, because that's a big, big issue. At the core of handling your humanity is this thing we have to overcome called sin. We often think of sin as big, overt things that we have to do, that they're observable stuff, like I didn't kill anybody, I didn't murder, I didn't rape anybody. Those are obvious things that we kind of, bad, evil. Sin sometimes resides in the heart with attitudes that we develop. Things we know we shouldn't do, but we do, and things we compromise with and shouldn't, and as a result, we're desensitized to the pureness of the Spirit of God. And so when God tries to talk, you can't hear that clean, pure, voice. It has to be filtered through a bunch of other stuff that's going on. There's the busyness in your head, and you have to filter through what God is trying to say through all of that stuff. And so you're only hearing parts of what God is saying, because the other parts are stuff you want to hold on to sometimes and keep. And so God can't get his true, strict word through. So I want to talk about handling our humanity, the end of sin. If that is such a thing that we can achieve on this side, then that's it. The end of sin, handling our humanity. You have to ask the question, why do we sin? Let me give you a doctrinal definition of what sin is. Okay? Sin is a willful transgression of a known law of God. You want to write that down. Sin is a willful transgression of a known law of God. You know this to be so, and you willfully transgress it. Whether that is in action or in thoughts or in deed, it's a willful defying of what you know to be right. We clear on that? That's what sin is, doctrinally defined. And there's only one reason why we do that, and it's simply because we think it's right, or it's workable, pragmatic, It's as simple as me going down the street here, and I come up to that traffic light, and it's on red, and I should stop, right? That's what a red light means. But I have clear visibility in every direction, and there's no cars coming this way, that way, or that way, but the light's on red. Why do I need to stop? Let's be pragmatic. Save time, spare my engine, my brakes, the whole 9 yards. I go through. But Pastor, the light said, stop. But dear congregation member, there was nothing around, and it was safe for me to do it. That's pragmatism. We sin through pragmatism more than anything else. That ability to evaluate a situation and say, I'm not going to get in trouble for this. I got this. Are you hearing me this morning? I got this. So we're looking for overt things, big, bold, glaring things, and it's as simple as I'm being pragmatic with my life. I choose to make a decision because it works for me right now in this situation. Can I get a witness? It works for me in this circumstance, so I do it. That's pragmatism in full force. I broke the law. I put the law under my pragmatism. Woo! Boy. Oh, let's go on. So we've been talking about moving forward. I want us to. But I want us to carefully consider how I handle my humanity. See, because pragmatism is humanistic. It is very humanistic. I mean, some governments and countries and organizations, employ that technique as above all and the be all and the good above all. If I can, here's words to use. It's reasonable. It's a reasonable thing. I mean, who needs to obey and abide by every law? I was driving behind a car yesterday, and this thing came home so forceful. This car was painted in a flat black color. When I say flat black, no gloss. And the car, get this, the car is right in front of me at the light. I'm trying to turn into my street, and there's this flat back Chevy, no writings, no badge, nothing, what kind of car it is. I know it's a Chevy Camaro because, of course, I've seen one before. It's absolute flat black, everything flat black, and it blended into the street. It looked just like the asphalt in the road. Let's revisit that pragmatic conversation that I had at the traffic light. Bring that flat black car that I saw yesterday, and he's coming this way, but he has blended into the street, and I cannot recognize him because he's one with the street. My pragmatism says, go on through, Jeff, ain't nothing coming. Wham! He kills me. My pragmatic dies. My pragmatism dies because there was a way that seemed right unto me, and the end thereof was destruction. Are you getting this morning? Yes. Too many folks have a way that seems right without considering all the elements of time and space and energy. I think I might want to shut my clock off. If not, I may just go a little bit longer or what have you, or cut it up in 2 pieces. But this thing is in my heart. It's something I want to tell you this morning. Handling my humanity. Listen, I got in and I told Kim, you don't know nothing until you know nothing. Because that's what's going through my head. You don't know nothing until you know nothing. And so let me read what I'm thinking here. Follow me. Stay with me this morning. I'm in 1 Corinthians chapter 2. Yeah. Okay? I'm in 1 Corinthians chapter 2. And here's why I'm thinking about you don't know nothing until you don't know nothing. Here's what Paul says about not wanting to know anything. And I, brethren, when I came to you, came not with excellency of speech or of wisdom, declaring unto you the testimony of God. Verse 2. For I determined not to know anything among you save Jesus Christ and him crucified. I want to know for that. I don't care to exercise my human wisdom, my human reasoning, my thinking. I don't want to know anything about that. All I want to know is Jesus and him crucified. And in that knowledge, I will get wisdom. For I determined not to know anything among you save Jesus Christ and him crucified. And I was with you in weakness and in fear and in much trembling. And my speech and my preaching was not with enticing word of man's wisdom. I'm not speaking with man's wisdom. I don't care to know that. There's a way that seemeth right unto man. That's man's wisdom. I don't want to know that. He said, my speech and my preaching was not with enticing words of man's wisdom, but in demonstration of the Spirit and of power, that your faith should not stand in the wisdom of men, but in the power of God. I don't know nothing until I don't know nothing. All I need to know is Jesus Christ and him crucified. And in that vein, I will get the wisdom of God, thereby depleting my pragmatic thinking. Howbeit, we speak wisdom among them that are perfect, yet not the wisdom of this world, nor of the princes of this world that come to naught. It comes to nothing. Human wisdom comes to nothing. But we speak the wisdom of God in a mystery, even the hidden wisdom which God ordained before the world unto our glory. So you get me now? I don't want to know nothing. You know nothing until you know nothing of this world and its wisdom until you know the wisdom of God. You need the wisdom of God. So in all of that, there's this word that I put on the board there for you because I have a scripture verse that just blows this up. That word is pronounced akarith. It's spelled A-C-H-A-R-I-Y-T-H. Akarith. It's a Hebrew word pronounced akarith. Akarith. Yeah? Got it? I'm going to use that word several times this morning. Hebrew. It means the last or the end. It means the future, posterity, the end, hinder, the reward, the thing that goes behind the end of a matter. It's a Hebrew word. Okay. Proverbs chapter 16, verse 25. That's where I said it already, but that's where I'm going to jump off. So for the sake of the recording, let's go. Proverbs 16, 25. There is a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. Right? That's my text. There is a way that seemeth right, but the end thereof is death. So in the Hebrew language, many prepositions of words having to do with direction and orientation are derived from the parts of the body. So this is one of those words, akarith, right? So in Hebrew, like I said, many of our words that help us with direction comes from like the body. For example, if I said at the head, I mean like at the top, first in line, head of the class. At the hand, like he's my right-hand man. Those words, we say those words in English, but there are specific words for that in Hebrew. At the feet, he's at my feet, or we're at his feet, or we're bowing at his feet. Those words direct submission. Bring it under submission. At the face, it's right in front of me. And one more, and the one I'm going to hone in on is at the back. The back. Akarith, that which comes after. That get me behind me. Satan comes behind me. Akarith. There is a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof is akarith. At the end, there's consequences that come behind it. There's a price to pay that comes behind it. At the end, at akarith, behind all of this stuff, when you process or wrongly process this stuff, there's an akarith coming. There's a destruction behind it. It never presents itself in the opening, in the beginning. I mean, if Satan showed you what he really had for you up front, you would never sin. Isn't it amazing that Jesus on the cross says, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing? If they had known that by crucifying him, they would release the power of the Spirit upon the face of the earth to save all humanity, they would not have done that. They thought that they were going to dethrone, kill, and forever put silence to him. And that was their ambition. That was their plan. But he says, Father, forgive them. These people don't even know what they're doing. They think they're hurting me. They're releasing on all humanity the greatest power yet to be seen. So forgive them. They're kind of stupid, but they don't know it. Akarith, that's the Hebrew word for back. And I'm using it in the context of a body position. Back of me. What's behind me? I don't know what's behind me. What's coming behind me? I don't know what's coming behind me. I can only see what's in front of me. And I have to make good choices so that after I make good choices, what's going to follow behind is a blessing and not a curse. There's a way that seemeth right unto a man. From an ordinary human vantage point, we can't see that which comes behind. The final consequence of a matter, that's the acarith. Acarith. The final consequence of a matter is the acarith. But God always sees the whole picture. Like I said, I don't know nothing until I don't know nothing. But God always sees the whole picture. His eyes got the acarith. His eyes got the behind picture. His eyes got the front picture, the side picture, and most of all, his eyes got the back picture. God sees the acarith. God sees what's behind this. He knows the beginning of a thing from the end. If we want to live holy lives, it is crucial that we gain a perspective on sin as we try to handle our humanity, because without variance, sin always have an after price.
Amen.
Come on, people.
Amen. Say that.
Sin always has an after price. There's a pragmatic after price. When we dumb down sin into pragmatism, there's an after price for that. You know, like the car that I couldn't see, but it was there. I would have had a rude awakening if I was going through the light and thought it was safe and it was nothing in either direction. There was something there in stealth mode. I kept thinking about that car all day yesterday. He painted that car for a reason. That car was in stealth mode. Who does that? Who wants to make themselves invisible on the street with all these big 18-wheeler trucks and high-flying, fast-moving vehicles? Who wants to make themselves invisible on the street? You got some agenda during the night hours or what have you that makes you invisible and impervious to law enforcement. Why would you take a good whole car and paint it in a color that looks like the street? I'm just saying, thinking out aloud. Just thinking out aloud. But that very thing will confront your pragmatism and give you a rude awakening just when you think it was safe. It was safe to get out into the intersection. But God has acarith. The whole book of Proverbs, and been in Proverbs, can be summed up in one verse. Here is Proverbs chapter 19, verse 20. The whole book. I've been in Proverbs this entire week. Next week I'm going to download Proverbs. The whole book of Proverbs can be summed up in this one verse. Chapter 19, verse 20. Hear it. Ready? Hear counsel and receive instructions that you may be wise in the latter end. Acarith. That's the actual Hebrew word right there in that verse. Let me read it for you again. Hear counsel and receive instruction that thou mayest be wise in the latter end, in the acarith, in what's coming behind. My text is from chapter 16 and verse 25, and it says, and I'm going to read it again for emphasis, there is a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof, acarith, are the ways of death. The problem is that Satan only shows us the pleasure at the moment. You think he's going to take time to counsel you and tell you, well, son, you know, if you just wait a little bit longer, that would... No. Just in the moment now. That's all you get to see. Now, what's before you. That's all you get to see. What's before you, right? He never shows you the acarith. You know, I deal with addiction, and I don't mean me having addiction. I mean, I deal with addiction that people come to me with addiction. Over my lifetime, I've dealt with a lot of people with a lot of addictions. I've dealt with a lot of Christian people in the Christian church, including pastors, lots of pastors that I've had to help come back from the graveyard. Some hooked on pornography and drugs and women and all kinds of stuff. And And they prayed and they prayed and they trusted God and they believed God. And there comes this moment when something overwhelms by what it looks like, smells like, tastes like, and the mind is all caught up in it, and the struggle, the handling their humanity, the struggle is real, and they succumb to it, and they feel awful. And so there's this romancing up to that moment. Devil always paints a wonderful picture. This is the best thing since sliced bread. I've dealt with some cases where people were in overt and blatant sin and wrongdoing and had the gall to look me and tell me that, but God told me to do that. No. My mama said she heard from God too. No. There's no right reason for doing wrong, and God does not condone sin. He does not. He does not. I don't care what delusion you're under. God does not condone that. If you tell me God tell you that, you're a liar. You're from the pit of hell. God didn't tell you that. It's your own inventive curiosity and lust and passion that drives you into that. And don't blame God for that. God had nothing to do with that. God is up here in heaven going like, I don't even know the man. I never seen him. I don't know what he's talking about. This is God. I don't know what he's talking about. I ain't got nothing to do with that. God ain't got nothing to do with some stuff. But we say God. So, the addiction blinds and enables and brings people to a place where they commit. And in every case, I've heard men, pastors, over and over and over again says, it was good until I did it, and then I felt awful and rotten. If the next time it comes up, you could only think about the previous time and how you felt. I said last week, and I'll say it again. People don't change when they see the light. They change when they feel the heat. If just getting light would change you, oh my God, we'll all be angels of light, 1,000 points of light. Light don't change people sometimes. It's heat that changes us. When we get burned and when we reach an intolerable level of pain, pain is the best teacher yet. When there's an intolerable level of pain where we can't do this, it's about to consume us, then we're like, I have had enough. I've had enough. There's a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof is Akarit. Remember Esau. He sold his lifelong birthright for one meal. Think about that. Esau. What did I say? Esau. Oh, okay. Esau. He sold his lifelong birthright for one meal. Just because, think about this carefully, just because he was hungry in that moment. Boy, there's a lesson there. Yeah. He was hungry in that moment. Vision clouded, clarity obscured. In that moment, the power of my temptation is the equivalent of cocaine. It's. I never did cocaine, so I could only talk theoretically. Caffeine. Caffeine? I don't drink caffeine either, so I don't know. It's the power of that seduction. That feeling of, oh my God, this is so cool. Yeah, one time. No, you have to hear the story. One time when I broke my back, I was overseas and I was writhing in pain. And my organs started to shut down and they rushed me to the hospital. And I remember they injected me with morphine and it didn't work. And then they injected me with heroin to soothe the pain. The pain was intense. I didn't know at the time I had broken bones in my spine. And piece had broken off and stuck in my spine. So I was starting to paralyze on my left already. And so when I got that second shot of that drug, in all the pain, something just rushed over my body. And I looked at it and said, oh, this is so good. And I told the doctor, can I marry you? Will you marry me, please? I begged a man to marry me. That's in that moment. Are you hearing me? In that moment, There was nothing I wouldn't trade the world for that moment, to undo the pain and the suffering, the temptation, the euphoria of that. In that moment, Esau says to his brother, here's my birthright. I am so hungry. I am so consumed by my hunger. I will give you the thing that my family bestowed to me, that takes me into my future, that ensures and guarantees a good life for the rest of my life. I am willing to give it to you now, because in this moment, right now, I am hungry. That's what the devil does. He's about, in this moment, handling my humanity. Are you getting something on this? Handling my humanity in this moment. That's all I need. That's all I want. But there's an accurate. Because afterwards, when he wanted the blessing, he was rejected, even though he sought with it with great prayer and tears, and was miserable. His accurate was miserable. After he had given it up, and now he wants it back. And don't kid yourself. In that moment, his pleadings were sincere, absolutely sincere. He would undo, if he could, or retrade the pot of lentil soup for his blessing, but it was gone. It was gone. In this moment, consider there is an accurate that follows this moment, and you need to give it consideration, because it looks good now, but it's not really good. Let us learn to handle our humanity. Let us learn to suspend sin. So before we yield the next time, we need to remember how we felt the last time. If nothing else, use your failures and your shortcomings and your mess ups and your pain to remind you in the next moment. Remember, the devil deals with the moment? Remember the next time when you face this kind of onslaught, and the pleadings and the yearnings is like that good shot of morphine. You got to say, for a moment, that may go away. I need surgery. I don't just need a temporary fix. I needed surgery. In that moment, I trade everything for that surgery. I needed surgery. Because when that thing went off, I was in a wheelchair by the time I came to, and had to be shipped from overseas back here, and was on crutches, and the whole 9 yards. Should I trade my whole life in subsequent moments thereafter just to get that feeling, that rush that I had that day when I was in such pain? It's a passing thing. It's a fleeting moment. It's not going to last. I got to go for a more solid cure, more permanent situation. Oh, many verses in Proverbs warn about the accurate, about immorality, sexual immorality. Let's pull out one here, because it's important to our day. I don't know what's happening in our country anymore. There is a relentless pursuit by Hollywood and the media elite and those savvy people to re-educate us as a nation. Hollywood has now become our social studies classroom on a giant scale. Have you seen any movie, TV shows, series, what have you, anymore that within 5-10 minutes into the very beginning, they have to inject alternative sexual lifestyle? I can't watch anything anymore. I like action movies. I'm a Rambo kind of, and I went that way because I didn't want to see the nonsense, right? So I like action movies. And man, my wife and I, we just search like gold hunters for a good, clean movie, an action movie. And we're getting into it and we're liking it. And by episode number 2, here comes this big burly man, grabs this other man and takes him in the... Oh God, please. This is a shoot 'em up, bang 'em up picture, for God's sake. I don't want to see that. There is a concerted, directed, adverse attempt to change our social consciousness, to bring us into a place of acceptance where this kind of debauchery, this kind of abomination becomes normal. It is not normal. It is not normal. I mean, it's not normal. I'm still old-fashioned. I'm not going to vote for a president who... Shoot me if you want, shoot the message. I'm not going to vote for you if that's your lifestyle. I'm sorry. You could have the best policy on the face of the earth. I don't care. It flows from the top down. You put that at the top and the nation will be covered with it. I can't do that. I'm sorry. Yeah, maybe I'm old-fashioned. Maybe this might be offensive to some of you who are politically correct. That's okay. Be what you want to be. I'm not that way. Don't want to be that way. Never want to accept it. Never gonna accept it. Can't accept it. You know, would I love the person? Absolutely. I could love the sinner and hate the sin all at the same time. So don't get me twisted on it. I would always love and always care for that sinner while hating that sin. I cannot accept that. I will accept you. I cannot accept that behavior. And there's a concerted effort to re-educate us. I mean, I'm watching, for God's sake, a commercial on TV last week. A commercial for a drug called Devaro. And 2 men gets to kissing at the end of the commercial. Even in commercial, you mean you're not going to let me escape give me one little place where there's some sanctuary of freedom. Give me one little place where I can feel safe. You brought it into commercials? Remember when we went into this anti-smoking campaign, and so they don't even show you a man smoking anymore? They will advertise cigarette, but never have you seen a guy smoking. They will advertise alcohol, but they never show you anybody drinking. Why you gotta show me a man kissing another man? Why? I'm sorry. You could not post this to the web if you don't want to. I don't care. There's some truth. No, I'm not attacking you. I'm just saying if it would offend people, you know. Okay.
But that's okay.
It should offend. There need to be a moral consciousness and a moral compass that sits upon us, that we don't get too misplaced and complacent in accepting the world standard, because there is an acharis behind that. Righteousness exalt a nation, but sin is a reproach unto any people. And if you accept that, this nation will fall under a curse like Sodom and Gomorrah, and God will have to destroy this nation just like he destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. You gotta stand for something. This has a payment behind it. This has an acharis behind it. Don't accept this. I can't accept this. Okay? Proverbs chapter 5, verses 3 to 14. The lips of an immoral woman are as sweet as honey, and her mouth is sweeter than oil, is smoother than oil. Proverbs chapter 5, verses 3 through 14. The lips of an immoral woman are as sweet as honey, and her mouth is smoother than oil. But the results, put that word in there, the acharis, the thing that comes behind. The acharis is as bitter as poison, sharp as a double-edged sword. And we go on. Her feet go down to death. Her steps lead straight to the grave, for she does not care about the path of life. She staggers down a crooked trail and doesn't even realize where it leads. So now, my sons, listen to me. Never stray away from what I'm about to say. Run from her. Don't go near the door of her house. If you do, you will lose your honor. Oh, dwell on that word for a second. You will lose your honor. Your honor is your crowning glory. You would lose the authority and the covering that you have. And hand over to merciless people everything you have achieved in life. Strangers will obtain your wealth, and someone else will enjoy the fruit of your labor. Afterward, Akarith, you will groan in anguish when disease consumes your body. And you will say, how I hated discipline. If only I had not demanded my own way. There is a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the Akarith is destruction. If only I had not demanded my own way. Oh, why didn't I listen to my teachers? Why didn't I hear what Pastor was saying? Why didn't I pay attention to those who gave me instructions? I have come to the brink of utter ruin, and now I must face public disgrace. No matter how good the seduction looks, the consequences of associating with that seduction will be disastrous. It will be disastrous. I have lots of stories that I can tell to force the point home, and they all came from articles I read. You know, people, stories that I know firsthand. I know of pastors, ministers who have followed their lust and their passions and have destroyed their lives. As a matter of fact, part of what I was known for, and my ministry, my son could bear witness to that, was called Wholeness Ministries. And what we did, what I did, and we got involved in, was we were a restorative ministry. We worked with people who crashed and burned. That's all I dealt with. For many years, that's all I dealt with. Ministers who crashed and burned, and their wonderful organizations kicked them out. Broken wings can't fly again. You know, when that used to circle around. Can't fly again. They crashed and burned. So it was recuperative, it was restorative. It's all I did. I'm thinking about a particular case in point where one of these guys, because of the euphoria of the attraction, caused him to lose himself, his senses, the delusion. Not already. It's wrong timing from this one. The delusion. This one. The delusion of the moment was so powerful. The pragmatism that overwhelmed, gave a false sense of security. Well, this just one time I could get committed, went home, subsequently found out that he contracted the AIDS virus, gave it to his wife, and also his child. 3 dead people. Because of one moment. The Akarith. There is a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof, the thing that comes behind, at the back, is destruction, disaster. None of us, including myself, none of us are exempt from temptation. God always shows us the traps in advance. Satan only shows us the bait. Let me say that over again. The bait. God always shows in advance. There's a warning. Scripture says, and you will hear a voice in your ear speaking to you. This is the way. Walk in it and you shall find rest for your souls. We always get that. If we have a Holy Spirit mechanism in us, we always get a warning. Come on. If you ain't getting no warning, you ain't got no Holy Spirit. We always get a warning. Something in us says this is not right. Pragmatism kicks in and says, but I've done this before. I could pay myself. That car coming under that flat black car, he's there. Well, you see, man, he's there, right? If you came late, you wouldn't get the concept of the flat black car, so you have to listen to the message. So the flat black is there, but I can't see it. Right? And he's waiting for me to get into that intersection, and then I have this rude awakening. None of us are exempt from temptation. But God always shows us and gives us a warning in advance. God always comes to us and say, not right, not good, not cool. Satan always comes and shows us the bait. But look at that. Wow. If only I can have that. You know, I've developed this little technique, how not to lust after people's things. You know, like this guy gets a nice car, and my God, you want that. You never thought you wanted one before, but all of a sudden now you want one because he got one. So I just simply say, Lord, I just wish you give him a newer one and give me the one he has. Yes, that'll work for me. I don't want what you have. I want you to get a better one. I could use just the one you have. I'm good with that. You need to get a better one. Sometimes we lust for things that we have no purpose, no reason for. You know, you heard me say it 1,000 times. Here's 1,001. The grass always looks greener on the other side until you get the water bill. It just, there's a reason why it looks green. There's a reason why it looks green. It looks green because they're pouring a lot into it. Resources that you don't have. You just want the product, the outcome, the end product. But the acarite, the thing that comes behind, there's a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof is destruction. The acarite, what follows that thing, the price that comes with it. The price that comes with it. You need to weigh that factor. Proverbs chapter 23, verses 31 through 32. Proverbs chapter 23, verses 31 and 32. Hear what it says. Here's what it says. Don't let the sparkle and smooth taste of wine deceive you, for in the end, acarith. In the end, it bites like a poisonous serpent. It stings like a viper. When I did street ministry, oh, so powerful. We had this thing in Fort Worth, Texas, we called the slab. And we used to go down to the slab and feed homeless, broken people and get them out from the train tracks and bring them into a service and give them the word of God and then feed them nice, generous, healthy meals. The one thing I noticed and changed my concept of homelessness, the amount of people that we helped out of homelessness will just blow your mind as to how many of those people were executives of big corporations. We had a guy who bought us the tent and $100,000 worth of electronic equipment and stuff and set us up. This guy, we took him out from under the train. Dirty and smelly and nasty and grimy. This guy was a wealthy, wealthy man. But the allurement of that fix in that moment caused him to lose everything he had. And now he's broken, homeless, on the street, sleeping under a park train on the railroad. He got his life back, came back to Jesus, and rebuilt himself, and in a short period of time was clean and sober and all that good stuff, and was able to give the church $100,000. He was homeless. He was homeless. He was homeless, friends. Don't let the sparkle of the smooth taste, don't let it deceive you. It will sting. There's a way that seemeth right unto man. There's human wisdom that seems right, and all it'll do is kill. Sin is so wrapped up in pragmatism. That's where I kind of started at this morning, because we see sin in over terms as big things, lofty things, bad things. Don't kill, don't steal, don't shoot, don't take your neighbor's wife. Don't do these things, right? Big things. And yet we miss the very pragmatic things where we compromise and say, yeah, well, I could do that. That ain't gonna kill me. Nothing happened. Yeah. You reason it out. Pragmatism crouches sin into a place where it becomes acceptable to do, and you reason yourself into a grave because it looks right. It even feels right. It sometimes smells right. And you sometimes even ascribe God to it and say, well, God told me that. Look, God don't tell you stuff like that. God never have discussion with people to compromise to do wrong. God never gets involved in a conversation to compromise to do wrong. God never gets involved in a compromise with a conversation to do wrong. God never gets in that. Anytime you're reasoning yourself out of doing what thus saith the Lord, you're in dangerous territory. You can't reason yourself out of doing what God says. You can't. Well, you shouldn't. We shouldn't. Sin, the end of it, is the total opposite of what was promised. It's often offered in delight, but it ends in death. It's somehow given a false sense of a guaranteed high, but actually what you're going to get is a guaranteed hell. Psalm 37, verse 37 and 38 says, mark the perfect man, and behold the upright, for the end, the accuracy of that man is peace. But the transgressors shall be destroyed together. The end, the accuracy of the wicked shall be cut off. In verse 1 of that same chapter, here's what it says. Fret not thyself because of evildoers. Don't get consumed and worried about them, what they have. I think it's about a week or two back, I was reading a scripture that says, it's better to enjoy soup on the roof of your house than to eat steak with somebody that will steak you. It goes on, and I have been young, and now I'm old, yet I have not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. That's verse 25. Let me read verse 38 for you in the NLT. But the wicked will be destroyed. They have no future. But the righteous have a wonderful future. Let's jump to Jeremiah. I'm getting close to the end. Yeah. And we'll close up. Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11. For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Excuse me. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. And guess where that word comes up again? Akari. The thing that comes behind. So what was this message all about this morning? Managing your humanity. Understanding there's a space there that we often overlook. It's the wisdom of man, the reasoning of man. It's that pragmatic space that we live in most of the time, in that I can get away with it. I think it isn't right or wrong based on whether you can get away with it. That's not how you quantify right or wrong. Because you can get away with it. Somebody pays. Somebody always pays. Somebody always pays. Nothing is for free. Nothing is for free. You might escape now and this. And as we said earlier on, might escape the moment. But the moment has an akarith. It has an after effect. It has something that comes behind. You might think, oh yeah, we're consenting adults. You know, no harm, no foul. No! Somebody gets hurt. Somebody gets hurt badly. Behold, your sin shall surely find you out. It will never ever go unnoticed or unpunished. You know, I'm going to tell you a story and I'm getting ready to wrap up. I used to work for this company as a kid. I was 18, 19 years old, somewhere around there. And it was probably my first job. Yeah, well, my first real job in an organization. And we had this massive plant where we made tomato ketchup and all kinds of stuff, and things that you eat here today comes from that plant or that organization. And I worked for that organization. And I was responsible for balancing the stock at the end of the day. So go through the warehouse and we got 10,000 cases of this and 15,000 bottles of that and that. And somehow the actual physical count never matched up. If you use just what we call Cardex cards back before we had, you know, gear and all that kind of high foo-foo stuff for balancing books. We just had our yellow card and a sheet this way and that way, and you learn it that way and learn for life. And so we would balance it that way, but it didn't reflect the truth on the shelves. And there was nobody robbed the building, no truck came in, the facility wasn't breached, and yet it never could balance. And so at the end of the day, the employees would come down, and I'm standing right here by the door for them to exit, and there's a punch clock, you know, clock your time out so we could balance the time right. And so they're coming down, and there's a long line of everybody coming down, and we balance, we're punching their clocks out, and they're clocking out, and one guy comes to clock out, and the guy behind him just horsing around and slaps him at the back of his neck. One of them kind of stingy slap, you know. Pow! And he just, in that moment, he lost it. He was enraged, and he turned around and he swung at him and he kicked at him. And in that, you know, moment of just absolute anger, bottles of product start flying out his socks. And hugely, behold, your sin will surely find you out. For months, we couldn't figure out how the product was getting out the building. One guy got slapped behind his neck, and all of a sudden, in the scamper of everything, bottles of products just start coming out of people's clothing. Because the melee started, man forgot all about, oh, I got this thing to hide, and stuff just coming out. Behold, sin will find you out. In the moment of pragmatism, it was okay in their minds. This is a corporation. They wouldn't feel this. Yes, they would. But the greater loss in the Acharit is you lost your job. Why? Because you couldn't protect your thing. There's a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof is destruction. Let me read this one scripture and I'm done. Psalm 73, verses 1 through 3. Truly, God is good to Israel, even to such as are of a clean heart. But as for me, my feet were almost gone, my steps had well nigh slipped. For I was envious at the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. Jump down to verse 17 to get the gist of this story that David is telling. He said, I almost slipped. I almost fell into a trap. My desires and my moments caused me to be filled with anxiousness and envy because this guy had so much. And he's wicked. God, how you can let this wicked person prosper? And so David is saying, I was envious at the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. Verse 17, until I went into the sanctuary of God, then understood I their end, their Acharit. Then I got a true picture of the price they had to pay for the deception that they were carrying on. Managing your humanity first starts with getting out the realm of the pragmatic, where we don't define things in absolute terms, but in what we could get away with. Anybody heard me this morning?
Amen. Yes. Amen.
Get out of the realm of the pragmatic. There's no real sin consciousness in the pragmatic because it's all about, if it works, do it. The light's on red, but nobody ain't coming, I'm going through. Fair game. Until that wicked 18-wheeler that you didn't see comes into the intersection. And boy, what a fine mess he made of you. Managing my humanity. Managing my humanity. I must take my life outside of the realm of pragmatism, where I get away with things not because it's right or wrong, but simply because it's workable, it's doable, I could do it. Nobody's gonna mind. Nobody gets hurt in this. Nobody gets hurt until they get hurt. I think that's a good place to end. It's a good place to end.